Ali to Lofa Lava and warm Pacific greetings, and welcome to Explorer Classroom. My name is Alexia. I'm Samoan, based in New Zealand, a National Geographic Young Explorer, and I am so excited to be your host today. We are really grateful to have you joining us for another event in the Explorer Classroom Ocean Expedition series. If you tuned into the last episode last week, welcome back. I'm so happy to see you returning. And if this is your very first time joining us, thank you so much. You are truly in for a treat today. Now, this is a really special opportunity because in just a moment, you are going to join a real life scientific expedition documenting and conserving the ocean habitats and wildlife of Palau alongside National Geographic's Pristine Seas team. Today, the team will be sharing about the critical role that storytelling plays in their work to protect our oceans. We're going to get a sneak peek into the world of filmmaking, and I'm so excited to see the ocean through the lens of these incredible storytellers. And if you're as excited as me, please let me know in the comments below. Now, before we jump to the team live from the research ship, literally they're in the ocean right now waiting for us, I'd like to welcome all of the classrooms who are joining us today. Now, we have so many schools joining us from both Palau and the world, and I'm going to give a special shout out to some of them. So if you are the lucky classroom to get a shout out today, please make sure you spam the comments. Please, cheer, give some love, give some energy, and hopefully we can hear it no matter where we are in the world because you guys bring the noise and the energy today. So the first classroom getting a shout out is Palau High School. Let's drop some love for Palau High School. Make sure you say welcome to all of the amazing classrooms joining in. We have Carole Elementary School. We have Palau Community College. Keep up the energy because we have Sonsorol School. Oh, I'm loving seeing all of the great comments coming through of everyone welcoming everyone. Please keep them coming. We have Palau Moduknay School. If that is you, please give us some love today. We have Palau SDA Elementary School, Mitzenti High School, Malachi Oak Elementary School, and we would like to give a big thank you to the Ministry of Education in Palau for their support and enabling so many amazing students from Palau to join. Now, what is so awesome about this community that are here today is that we are truly a global family. So we have got people tuning in from every single corner of the globe. So you can make many global friends today, including we've got the aquatic champions from Papua New Guinea. Hello. We have Arkansas Virtual Academy from the United States. And we also have from Canada, March Academy. So please drop some love, give a warm welcome to our global community joining us today because we are going to have an absolute blast together. Now, we have some very special and important guests today. We will be joined in just a moment by National Geographic Explorer and lead scientist on this expedition, Whitney Goodall, as well as documentary cameraman, the one, the only John Betts. And we also have a very special guest. It is Heather Gatabaning from Palau, who leads the outreach program for the Palauan Conservation Society, who are doing very, very important work, which we're going to learn about in just a moment. So they are all truly so passionate about shining a spotlight on marine issues and using outreach to make a real difference for our oceans. Now, they are currently in the offshore waters west of Palau aboard their research ship, the MV Argo. And you can see on that map there whereabouts they're joining us from. So we are truly lucky. We have people right on the forefront in the water who are about to join us in just a moment. So please, team, get excited Spam the comments, drop some love for our amazing scientists and storytellers of the sea. It's Whitney, John, and Heather. Hello, team. It is so great to have you here. We've got so much love coming in the comments. I love this comment from Jonas, which is just like, woohoo, all capital letters. Yay, yeses. We are so happy that you are here. Thanks for joining us today.
So I'm so happy to see all of you, that some classrooms that I recognize. We've also got some new ones. I'm very excited to have you guys back here and joining us on the ship with us while we're at sea. So I am Whitney Goodell, for those of you who haven't met me yet. I'm the lead scientist on this expedition, and my role on the ship is to gather science and scientific data so that we can make informed recommendations on efforts to conserve the marine environment and to preserve it for future generations. But one thing that we do recognize in Pristine Seas is that data collection is not enough. Getting numbers and getting things like that from the ocean is not all you need to really make change happen. And it's very important to communicate those findings and the science to different audiences, different types of groups and people and interests, because this is really what can help make the difference. So this can range from communicating to government officials, to classrooms like yourselves, to community members, and all around the globe. So it's really why media and storytelling are such an important part of what we do with Pristine Seas. And it's very critical for us to communicate what we are doing and why we're doing it. Otherwise, all we're doing out here is just, using our different scientific methods and, kind of being nerds about what's out there. But we need to make sure that we're sharing this with the community and with everybody else. So, maybe on that topic of community members, I'm going to pass this to Heather right now, and she'll introduce herself to you guys.
Hi, Ali. My name is Heather. I am the Communications and Outreach Program Manager at Palau Conservation Society. So at PCS, we do a lot of conservation work, but one of the things that I do is actually to raise awareness about our environment and about the importance of conservation. And it's with partnerships like Nat Geo sharing these new information about our environment as well. So as you might know, conservation is not a new thing in Palau and globally, but in fact, it has been practiced in the past. And this knowledge and the conservation practices that we have done in the past are they're passed down through generations. And some of them are in the form of stories. And we will learn a little bit more about this as we go along today.
Hi, everyone. I'm John. I'm the field producer and one of the camera people from the Pristine Seas media team. So that means that I lead this team that includes a full-time underwater team and an above water team. And we have the privilege of capturing all the beautiful wildlife, the science, as well as community stories for all the places we visit. This is very weird for me. Normally I look like this. So being in front of the camera is a new experience, but this is fantastic. So thank you all for being here. And really our goal is just to capture beautiful images and meaningful stories to be able to get people to be inspired to care about the oceans, and to also tell stories about the fantastic communities that are already doing so much. We've been so privileged to have that experience here in Palau. So I have a short video that shows kind of how we prepare some of our equipment for an underwater shoot. So I think we're going to go to that next. So let's take a look. Okay, so we just came back from filming some scenes on land, and now I'm getting ready to go film underwater. So on land, it's pretty easy to film with a camera like this. I can change anything I want. If I want to film something very small and close, I can use one lens. I can actually change the lenses. Or if I want to film the whole world and see everything, I can film with a wide angle lens or a zoom lens. I can change the battery. I can change my media. But I can't take this underwater. It would be bad if it got wet. So I have to use this housing in order to protect it. So that means the camera has to go inside of here. It will be protected as long as I have it in this housing. But the downside of that is that I cannot change the lens. I cannot change my battery. I cannot replace the media, etc. So you really have to pre-visualize what you're going to film, the story you're going to make before you go for the dive so that you set yourself up with the right gear. So I know in this case, I want to film the coral reefs of Palau. So that means I want to film as wide as possible. I want to see everything. I want to see the coral, I want to see the fish. It also means that I'm going to get pretty close to things. So I want to be able to have a dome port like this. This big fish eye on the front actually allows me to see really wide and use this lens. You have to pair the dome with a certain lens that you're using. So this is all adjustable. I could take this off and put on a different one. I have these lights which can illuminate subjects close, or if I see a big school of fish and I want to add a little bit of light to them, I can look at this monitor. This is a sun hood that blocks the sun. And so I look through here. So I'm basically like this underwater. I'm looking through the monitor and I'm adjusting the settings. I use these knobs here for focusing and zoom. I can control the camera settings through these buttons. Now, this thing looks very cumbersome. I definitely look like a very clumsy robot, slow diver underwater, as opposed to the sleek, amazing animals that we're filming. This is heavy on the surface. This is a big, heavy beast. But underwater, it's completely neutrally buoyant. I could let this go underwater and it would float there and not move at all. That's because this is filled with air, this arm. The housing actually has air. I mean, you can imagine this dome is full of air. And I have these weights on the side that I can move around to adjust the buoyancy to make sure that I'm perfectly balanced for underwater. So there's a lot more to it to film underwater than on land. But I'm set up now and I'm going to head out to the reef and see what we can get. So that showed a little bit of how we set up for an underwater shoot. And I was able to capture some really cool images on that dive. That was an awesome dive. I like reliving it by watching that clip. But that's just the beginning. So now we have to come back, we take the footage, we have to edit. I think that one thing that makes this team so great is that everyone loves their jobs and everyone thinks that they have the best job, but I think I have the actual best job, which is I get to listen and observe and capture all of these images, but from an observational perspective. So one of the most important things we do is step back and listen. We will take images like that, and then we need to understand them. So we go into the communities and we talk to people, we talk to our scientists, we listen, we conduct interviews. And so we really get a context for what those images mean. It's not just a beautiful reef, it's a whole story. And so we go back and we do this over and over. We film, we interview, we edit on the computer, and then we sort of build the scene that comes together, build the story that happens before us. So we're always adapting and learning. It's really a lifelong learning process being a storyteller, which is one of the things I like about it the most. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, John. It was so awesome. I got so much. You definitely have a very cool job. I was so inspired. Let me know in the comments below if you also got a little bit of job inspo from the three awesome crew. I mean, I love the work that they're doing. Truly fangirling over here. It is just so incredible how much time and effort goes into seeing those videos come together, and just shows how important storytelling is to bringing other people along with us as we share scientific findings. Now, team, you have all been listening so well, so we are going to do a little bit of a quiz. So what you're going to do is you are going to put yourself in the media team's shoes, and you're going to put your storytelling hat on, because I'm going to show you some cool photos which have been taken by the Pristine Seas team. And as you look at these photos, I'm going to ask you some questions, and then you're going to put what you think the answer is in the chat bar below. So in a moment, when you see this photo, which is coming up on the screen, I want you to think, what do you notice about the photo? What story do you think it's trying to tell? So again, putting on your media team hat, the question is, what do you notice about the photo? What story do you think it's trying to tell? and start putting through different answers, thinking just like a real life Nat Geo media team member. So I'm getting some great answers. People saying there's corals, there's many types of different corals, there's fish, lots of coral. Correct, team. You are doing a fantastic job. What other stories or messages? School of fish, giant clam. Someone said, now this is really cool. This is one of our friends from Canada. They said, it's trying to tell us the secrets of the underwater land. I love that one. Now, team, if you are in class, feel free to raise your hand and your teachers can start putting the answers in for you. Someone said biodiversity. Someone said that, Palau High School environmental science class said a beautiful, healthy coral reef. Now, that is a fantastic answer. Now, you've all done such an amazing job. I'm now going to turn to our experts on the Pristine Seas team to see what stories they hear when they see this photo. Over to you, Whitney.
Yeah, one of the cool things about storytelling and about capturing images like this is actually how many different types of things can come out of it depending on the audience. So as we're sitting here, you know, for me, the first thing that I saw was colors and life. And to me, this, you know, the story that's being told here is this location that is absolutely rich with life. But, you know, somebody else looks at it and they see kind of the same idea, rich with life, but with a different focus. So just as soon as that image came up and you asked, what do we see? I hear Heather here whisper, clam. And, you know, for her, you know, she zooms in on that part of the image, the clam, and it's about what connects with each person, you know? So when you look at something and you see like a resource that you know is a delicious meal, or you see, you know, a bunch of corals that you know are supporting all of the fish and all of the ecosystem there. But really overall, everything that people take out of an image like this is towards that really primary message that the storytellers are trying to convey, which is healthy, full of life, full of color, lots of different, you know, biodiverse location. That's, I think, what everybody's answers kind of fall under that umbrella. So this storytelling process really kind of can connect with people in a lot of different ways.
Thank you, Whitney. Well done, everyone. Give yourself a pat on the back. We are off to a great start. Now we've got another photo, which is about to pop up on the screen. Now, putting on your Nat Geo storyteller hat, what do you notice about this photo? What story do you think this one is trying to tell? Now, please put your answers through the chat. I'm loving seeing all of your great answers coming through. Now, I want you to really think, what are you looking at? I'll give you a hint. The rope you see peeking out of the bottom is part of a fishing rope that has made its way into the ocean a very long time ago. So again, the question is, what story do you think this photo is trying to tell? Share your answers in the chat, or you can put up your hand and your teacher can put it in the chat for you. I like this. There's some really creative answers coming through. Someone's saying it looks like the hanging corals look like they're in a virus shape. Someone said in the live coral is carrying a dead coral. Some saying it's half alive, half dead. Our friends from Victoria's Homeschool in the Philippines say it looks like an unhealthy coral. Someone said it looks quite scary. It does look a little bit, I can see how you could think that looks a bit scary. It's definitely some mood lighting going on there. I'm sure John's got lots of thoughts on that. And someone said, is it from a shipwreck? From Yang Bing's biology class in Palau? Someone said a wrecking ball. That is very creative, Dion. I like that. Okay, team, I am loving the deep, dark ocean. I am loving all of your answers coming through. You've got a few more seconds to put your final answer in, and then I'm going to jump back to John, one of our experts, who's going to tell us what story he sees when he sees this photo. Over to you, John.
All right, great. So great work, everyone. So I love the ideas that I was seeing popping up. Someone mentioned early on that it was deep, which is absolutely correct. It was deeper than the last shot. You can tell that by the dark background. I had to use my lights that we saw in the video to illuminate this. But it is a rope. So this is a fishing rope, a discarded fishing rope that a bunch of life has grown onto. After about a little over a month at sea, when I look at this photo, I see a self-portrait, very unfortunate way. Just kidding. But the life that grows on this rope is actually pretty fantastic. It really shows the resilience of the oceans. Lines. It also shows that these stories are complex. So, fishing line, discarded fishing line can be very detrimental. It can entangle animals. It's a problem for it to be on the reef, definitely. But also it just shows that life clings to anything that's in the oceans, and it shows how quickly the life can regenerate. So it's also a very hopeful story. And most of these things that you see there, that's actually different species that are working together to sort of occupy this one space. So most of those things are actually alive. So it's like when you see the video, it's all full of fish. There was actually a ton of little small fish swimming around in there as well. So it was a very vibrant sort of bundle of life clinging to this discarded fishing rope. So it just shows that if we protect the oceans, then they can bounce back very quickly. So it's kind of shows the complexity of the stories that we see underwater. So great job, everyone.
It is so beautiful. What very poetic. Thank you so much, John. Now we've got one more photo to show you all. You're all doing such a great job. So, team, what story do you think this photo is telling? Share your answers with your class, check them in the chat. I would love to hear some of your answers as they come through. Someone said, from Anika from the Philippines, said cleaning up the seashore. That is great. Mark is saying, guy picking up trash and waste. Very good. Oh, I love this. From Palau High School, they say the whole world is a village. Duran from the Philippines says the man is saving the earth. Someone say Ria says trash, -1. So I love that. And some of you may have your own experiences picking up rubbish as well. So you may resonate with this image. Great work, everyone. You've got a few more seconds to start putting in your final answers. I love this one here from Garrett. He says, connection of humans to the ecosystem. That is a very wise reflection. Well done, Garrett. Now I'm going to jump back to you, Whitney. What story does this photo tell?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, really keyed in on a difference in this photo versus the other ones. In this one, we do see a human in it, right? So now we're really getting that taste of our part as humans, our part in the ecosystem. What do you see in this, Heather? What do you think?
The first thing that I saw, and I saw someone comment on it, was birds. And someone did comment about being a part of the ecosystem, and that just means we're all live in harmony with nature, and then it's helping out wherever we can. So in this picture, I believe you guys took a photo of a ranger in the Southwest Island at Helen Reef that was doing a beach cleanup to care for the environment in this little atoll environment. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Heather, and well done, everyone. Give yourself a pat in the back. You've made it through our first quiz. You have all demonstrated that you are natural-born storytellers, and I'm so proud of you. If you felt any emotion from those images, that means you are truly on track to be a natural storyteller. So we're going to share with you a video sequence that the Pristine Seas team has made on Palau. So this shows the magic of how all that filming and planning comes together to create a story that gives the audience a real life look into life underwater. So this clip was actually made by the wonderful Pristine Seas team during their last expedition to Palau in 2015 and features a National Geographic explorer, Enric Sala, the founder and director of Pristine Seas. So let's take a look.
In the early 1900s, German occupiers were mining for natural resources. And to give their exports a shortcut, they blasted a large channel through one of the reefs. It was a violent act. But a century later, the channel has been transformed.
During the incoming tide, the water comes from outside of the reef into the lagoon. And there are a few channels where the current accelerates and where the nutrients and the food accumulates. There is so much food that all these little fish aggregate to eat. And this is what creates the bait ball. And it felt like being in a pot of boiling water. There was so much activity, the water was vibrating. And all of a sudden, that dense ball that was surrounding us exploded, like fireworks. And from the deep came these large predators, the sharks, hitting the ball over and over and over. And then the manta rays came, completely oblivious to all the predation that's going on there. Manta ray is one of the most beautiful animals in the ocean. 3-meter wingspan, moving its wings majestically, came over and over and over, like dancing with us. And the animals come so close that if you wanted, you could touch them. Now, I have never seen so much life and so much activity. It is so hypnotic. I felt completely in trance. This is one of the most wonderful and spiritual experiences that you can have underwater.
Wow, that was so powerful. I love that. The way that you created it was like a superhero movie. It truly took me everywhere. What an amazing view of the beautiful waters of Palau. Now, John, I'd love to hear from you. What does it take to pull together an incredible video like that?
Sure, thanks, Alexia. So that was, as you mentioned, made by our last team who was here. So I actually did not make that, but it was made by our amazing colleagues, one of our underwater cinematographers. So what happens is when you're underwater or anywhere really with a camera, your camera is the eye of the viewer. So we have an opportunity to bring you into the story. So when you watch a film, wherever we put the camera, that's where your eyes are, right? So when I'm underwater and I'm thinking about this, my eyes are darting everywhere. Oh, I can't look at that. Wow, over there. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And so I'm trying to capture all of that. And I know that Manu did the same thing in this case. So our eyes and our brains as humans are so well adapted to be able to focus in on small details as well as look in a wide sense and see everything at once and appreciate the beauty of the full scene. So we need to do that underwater. So we have to zoom in and see the tight cluster of fish, or pull back and see the whole scene with all of the fish and the mantas. And we wanted to connect it to our team. So you want to see a few shots with the divers, with the fish. And also that gives you a sense of scale, because otherwise sometimes it's hard to know how big is that fish. So we're thinking about all of these things underwater. As well as movement. You may have noticed some of the shots were kind of spiraling around and moving. And part of that is because the camera person is doing that. They're looking around, oh, wow, I can't believe that over there. And then you look over there. And so we include those moments because we want it to feel like what it's like to be there. So to make that kind of scene, we also have to capture the emotion. So you saw that interview with Enrique. So we immediately, when something like that happens, want to start conducting an interview to get that emotion, to get that story, so that we can hopefully convey what it's really like to be there.
Yeah, and it's so powerful, John, with shots like that and that kind of storytelling. I mean, you referred to interviewing Enrique and talking about that emotional response to that, and as you're hearing that, that kind of description of it, you're seeing what he's describing. And I think that a lot of people just now that we're watching, they felt that emotional response. I could see in the comments that people were just stunned and amazed and, oh my gosh, the ocean has
to be a manta ray.
Exactly. Yeah. And so very much like wanting to really feel that experience. And so that's a big part of storytelling, is allowing the audience, allowing people to feel that, because you need that emotional response.
And music plays a big part of that. And I could, there's so many things to say, but the music also, we use music choices and the pacing of the editing to help convey those emotions as well.
And there's a lot of kind of different objectives with telling a story. So, in the case with the previous film, the film from our previous visit to Palau, and with any of our visits, a lot of that storytelling objective is about grabbing the audience and inspiring that kind of, emotional connection to the ocean. And I think, in a case like this here in Palau, I feel like a story like that also really, it kind of brings that pride to Palau. That's what I would hope, at least for storytelling, is that on a global stage, we're here in Palau and we can see how amazing the water's here. And that, that's not like, it's not like it is all over the world. This is a very unique place. And so being able to share that story on a global stage is very important. And from what I've heard, we've talked with a couple educators here in Palau that say this film from 10 years ago is actually still being shown in the classrooms, and Palauan classrooms are still seeing this. So maybe a lot of you that are in the classrooms right now have actually seen this film before. Yeah. So yeah, there's that's another power to the storytelling, is that it can kind of continue on and be shared for years to come.
Right.
Wow, thank you so much for the incredible work that you're doing and for sharing a little bit more insight into the power of storytelling. Now, we want to hear from you, all of our wonderful audience watching, because as part of our everyday lives, there are stories everywhere around us, and they deserve to be told. So I do have a question for all of you watching, and that is, what are the stories in your own community that deserve to be told? So that question again was, what are the stories in your own community that you think need to be told? Now, that could be about your family, your community. It could be about the environment, wildlife. And again, we really want to know, what are those stories that, you're really passionate about and you want to get that message out there? Now, feel free, if you're in class, raise your hand and share it now with your teacher. And teachers, start typing through some of the answers. And I'd love to see your different answers coming through on the chat, and you may even get a shout out. Now, when I reflect on a story that I just felt needed to be told when I was younger, it was when I was 9 years old, and I did put up posters around the school because I was really passionate about encouraging more people to go to the animal shelter and adopt a pet as opposed to buying a pet from a pet store. So that was sort of my example of when I was really passionate and I felt that needed to be out there. Now, there's some really great answers coming through. Ria here, she says saving the tigers in India. We have Kaya from Canada. She says the Indigenous residential schools. That is a very important message. Thank you, Kaya. Anyone else? What are the different issues that you're passionate about or different stories that you think people need to have a more awareness of? I'd love for you to type your answers in the chat bar now. We've got so many great ones coming through. Someone said they're really passionate about the bees. This is a great one from Garrett. Thank you, Garrett. Garrett's from the Philippines, and he says, we are living near the Pasig River, and I would like the idea of our community to work together to make a difference by cleaning the river again after so many years. We've got a wonderful answer from YouTube. Now, we love all of our amazing YouTube comments, so please keep bringing them through, our wonderful YouTube listeners. And that is, here in South Africa, the story that I want to get out is the threat of poaching throughout our national parks. And isn't that awesome that we've got someone tuning in from South Africa today? We have truly got every part of the globe covered. And I'm going to take one more, and this one is from Matt, and he said, the river in my community is much cleaner now than in previous years. I believe that we can do something for our nature. Now, when we visit the river, it flows slowly and it doesn't smell, and it seems to be a lot more clean continuously. So that is just a great example and a great little story to share. Thank you, Matt. So those are all such wonderful ideas. And I want you to know that there is no one better in this world to share those stories than you. If you are out there and you feel passionately about something and you have something that keeps you up at night, and maybe it makes you angry, maybe it makes you hopeful, maybe it makes you excited, you can be the person to get that story out into the world. And there's no one better to share that story than you. Now, Heather, we'd love to hear from you. Can you tell us about the importance local storytelling has had on ocean conservation?
Sure thing. Well, as you might know, in the past, there was no written language. So a lot of things were passed down orally and in many different forms. And one of those forms is storytelling. There's a lot of legends, there's a lot of Palawan stories that have morals and lessons in them. And to relate to ocean conservation, I'm going to just tell you about a story. I'm not going to tell you the story because we're going to be here forever. But there is a story, a Palawan legend, a Palawan story about two birds, a cormorant and a heron. And these birds are fishers. They look for fish to eat. They went to a place, a special place where there's a lot of fish. And the cormorant, not being patient, just started eating and eating and eating, while the heron said, be patient. When the tide goes lower, there will be more fish for you to eat. But he just was so hungry and there was so many fish, so he just kept doing it and doing it. So he couldn't fly back, or he had a very hard time flying back, throwing up all the fish on the way back. And the moral of the story really is that you have to be more patient and be mindful of your actions, because your actions do have impacts. And this relates to one of those big environmental threats, and that's overfishing. You take so much, there's not going to be enough for anybody. So issues like this, like overfishing, there are traditional ways to kind of tackle those kind of issues, and this was done in the past in the form of a bull. So bull is a concept that many Palauans know of, but people globally might not know about it. Bull is a traditional management process. It's actually where traditional leaders enact a law, and they practice some kind of law and order to solve community issues. So it can be many things, not just natural resource, not just environment. it can be curfew kind of law and order. To have the kids go home by 9 o'clock, the traditional leaders can put a bull and say nobody's walking the streets at 9. But in the case of overfishing, a bull can be put in place to designate an area to keep people out of an area, or to put a moratorium on certain species. So that was kind of a traditional method. And then we've kind of moved into modern forms of conservation that is the same kind of process, where we create protected areas, where we create rules and regulations on fishing and things. And these are all to ensure that we have resources that sustain us into the future. Yeah, that's movement from tradition. You just said, Whitney mentioned the video of Nat Geo moving from Nat Geo Pristine Paradise to the schools, and then it's being used over and over again, hopefully into the future. And stories like these, like the cormorant and the heron, reminds us of, go back to the past, learn from the past, take on this new science, and move forward with new conservation measures.
By surveying the midwater environment, the seafloor, and the reefs, we get an accurate picture of Palau's entire marine ecosystem. And the data that we have collected presents a rather simple reality. The whole system works.
What we've seen is that these protected areas have done incredibly well and served many of the goals they were intended to. Species that are just rare in most places are common on virtually every dive we see in Palau.
On average, these sites have double the biomass of unprotected areas and 5 times as many top predators, which are critically important to marine ecosystems.
The conservation is good for government, good for tourism, good for local people, and good for everyone because they have fish to eat. We have to love it, take care of it, and survive from it.
Yeah, I think, Heather, what you're talking about and what's conveyed in this video is something very important to recognize as far as the concept of bull and this, the concept of conservation. This isn't something new, that concept has been around for a long time of protecting, taking action to protect the resources for the good of the community and for kind of preserving those resources into the future. And, I think one of the cool things about traditional knowledge or practices and things like that is really acknowledging how much knowledge is already existing. So, we're not starting from square one of bringing in different science tools and, trying to reinvent the wheel. This information exists, and it's largely because there are the users of those resources and the people who live off of it have been observing for generations. So they observe the patterns. And I know that in a lot of examples, bull is often based off of recognizing those patterns in a resource. So for example, if there's, the community understands that every time around this time of year or on this moon phase, the species that, we're very interested in, they'll all aggregate and start spawning. And that, spawning and reproduction is very important to have that into the future, to have that resource. So by observing and understanding those patterns and saying, okay, for this part of the year, we are not going to, extract those fish out of the ocean because we need them to create more fish. That type of thing is very important and very kind of aligned with, with conservation in many different formats. But a lot of this comes down to the actual communication and the storytelling of, of that resource or of that protection, because really what that does is it allows allows people to connect with it and kind of understand why. And that's a very important part in management in general. Is the highest success is going to be when people feel it and believe it.
That is so true. And that's why storytelling is a very, very important aspect in conservation. So in the past, we told stories where our messages can get heard and they're passed down, but we have grown into a world of technology. We have a lot of technology, advanced technology that helps us tell our stories much better. With that big camera that you have when you go underwater to take those photos, and you move back and forth to make sure that people see that view that you are seeing to inspire them. And so you can also tell your story and you can help others to inspire. You can help inspire others to protect the environment. And a really great example of this, of taking care of our environment, and a great story comes from the beach cleanup. Remember that video that we saw, that picture that we saw earlier of that ranger and all of those birds in Helen Island? Yeah, we can take a look at that video and how that inspires others to create change.
My name is Carson. Last name is Niralbong. I work as a ranger from Helen Reef Island. Helen Reef is a sandy island with a lot of birds. Too many birds. When it mostly high tides, more thrush come on the beach. More. What we do every 3 months, we walk around the beach, we collect thrush as much we can, and we bring it to Coral. This is my place, and I love to take good care of my place for other people from Toby Island. I'm proud to be Tobian, and I love to protect my island.
Wow, that was such an inspiring clip, and a great example how every single one of us listening now can be the change, and we all have the power within us to go out there and make a real difference. We've heard a lot today about conserving the ocean, but there's also so many other important issues out there, and there's so many problems, and they're looking for amazing people like you to step up and be the one to solve it. So team, if you are feeling like you are going to go out there and create a change, I want you to type in the comments now, I can make a difference. And then you also might want to type, you can make a difference, to encourage everyone else listening as well. If you're in class, feel free to turn to the person next to you and in your best voice say, you can make a difference. So I'm loving to see that. Right, and you can write it in capital letters too if you're really feeling energetic and excited. I'm loving this. We can all make a difference. Miss Lysel's class says, I can make a difference, and so can you. So feel free to bring that energy today as we move forward. Now, thank you, Whitney, John, and Heather, for sharing the important work that storytelling plays in your work to protect the ocean. Storytelling is indeed such an important tool to help create change. We are now at a very exciting portion of the show, and I know some of you have been waiting for this moment, and that is the Q&A section. So please drop some love, get excited, drop some emojis for the Q&A portion of the show. I can already see lots of hands flying up and some questions coming through. So everyone is clearly very excited. I can even see some waving going on, which is good to see. Now, if you are watching online, please start sending through your questions in the chat bar. We are recording them all as they are being sent in right now. So please only send each question once. And teachers, if you're putting in different questions, please put the student's name so that we can give them a shout out. Our team, time has truly flown. We've had so much fun today. A big thank you to everyone who've sent through their questions. Even if your question wasn't asked today, I do admire and respect just how curious you are. So we are wrapping up the end of today's classroom, as the Pristine Seas team has a lot more exploring to do. So I have one last question for the Pristine Seas team, and that is, what is the final message you want to give to all of those amazing young explorers listening right now?
Great. So I would like to say goodbye with a final message. It's a Palauan proverb that says, "Asanson amrari aplongos." And to translate that, it means little twigs can boil a pot. And this really means that no action is too small and that every little thing that you do to protect the environment counts. So we got this.
Yeah, you are all
We-
part of it.
Yes, we have got this. I love that. Little twigs can boil a pot. What a beautiful message to end on today, team. Thank you again on behalf of everyone listening today to Whitney, John, and Heather for joining us and for inspiring us with their work and that final message. Let's wave goodbye to our wonderful scientists and storytellers tuning in from the sea today. Lots of love, and we've got so many great comments coming through. That was so fun. Thank you, everyone, for filling the chat bar with lots of hearts, lots of love. Thank you so much. Thank you, of course, to you, our amazing audience, for your incredible and very intelligent questions today. And of course, a big thank you to our incredible teachers. Now, for all of the students participating as part of our Ocean Expedition series, please listen up. Because your next mission is to tell stories of environmental stewardship. For this mission, you will talk to people in your own community to learn what connects them to the ocean. Teachers, please use the Educator's Guide to learn more about this mission. So again, a big thank you for joining this episode of the Explorer Classroom Ocean Expedition series. Next week, I'm very excited because we will again join the Pristine Seas team as they explore Palau's offshore mysteries. Doesn't that sound so exciting? Offshore mysteries. I cannot wait. I'm very excited to see what those mysteries will reveal. If you're as excited as I am, let me know in the comments. But again, thank you so much, team. Pat yourself on the back. Pat yourself. I can see lots of people patting themselves on the back right now. Pat the back of the person sitting next to you. If it's just you and the cat at home, just pat the cat on the back. That works. Now, have a great day, everyone. I'm so proud of you. We've got this. Stay curious and keep exploring.